Thank you for being here. It's an honor. This panel is supported by the WSMA, the Washington State Microenterprise Association. They're helping us move our careers forward in music. So let's talk about marketing, y'all. Let's do this thing. First, I would love for y'all to introduce yourselves, names, pronouns, what you do, mini version of your story, your elevator pitch. Absolutely.
Hi, friends. My name is TeZATalks. I'm a hardcore pop star artist. Hey. I'm also a Sonic Guild artist and recipient of the grant, and a community member of Seattle and both Tacoma's music scene. I'm really grateful to be here and share what very honest and independent information I have of how I've been able to have success in social media. So thank you so much for having me.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Marisa, she, her. I am a digital strategist. I currently work at an agency in Seattle. I kind of work in all things email, social media, web, all that fun stuff. And I, up until last summer, was working for Folklife International. We ran a conference. I think maybe some of you might be familiar with it, but it was a showcasing event and just a professional development conference. And so I was a marketing manager over there. So that's kind of where my music background is. And I'm excited to be back in this space right now.
Hi, everyone.
Woo! Give it up.
My name is Sarah Pepper. I'm the marketing and ticketing director for Daydream State. Daydream State is the overarching umbrella company that runs promotes for Neumos, Barboza, Capitol Hill Block Party, day in, day out. I've been working with them for long before even Daydream State existed. It's been about almost 7 years with Neumos, and it's just kind of grown from there. I kind of oversee all social media marketing and paid marketing, as well as email marketing and all that has to do with promoting shows and selling tickets.
Thank you. So today we're going to talk about social media and building a campaign, both for releasing music and promoting shows and all the things we do as independent artists to market our music. And so I want to start by asking everyone in the crowd to raise their hand if you have an artist account on Instagram. That's a lot of people. Okay, TikTok? Fewer. Interesting. Facebook? Okay, a few. YouTube? Are we active on YouTube? A lot. Okay. Twitter? Okay, who here has an email list? The most valuable thing an artist can have, right? I only saw a few hands up for that one. What about music on Spotify or any other streaming service? Quite a few. All right, who does postering to promote their shows or music? Less. Interesting. And who here has formal PR support or does their PR themselves? Cool. So let's start there. I want to ask you guys, what on social media, what platforms have you had the most success on? What should a local artist be focusing on? And what's kind of your rundown of each one? We can start with you.
So my success, as I've seen, is probably on Spotify for the major streaming platform. Instagram does really well for my conversations with fans, and then probably my YouTube following, but it's just more of a bigger audience to watch, not so much to always talk to. But I would probably say those are my big three at the moment. I'm not sure about my website, but it gets traffic. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to say, when it comes to this question, I usually think about like who your audience is and where they're at, because there are a ton of different social media platforms that you could be on. But like if you were exclusively really targeting Gen Z, you're probably not going to be on Facebook. But maybe you're a folk musician and you have an older audience as well. Like Facebook might be a good place. So I think it totally varies. I think that like Instagram tends to be the sort of core platform where you're going to reach a wide variety of people, but I think you can be successful with any number of those platforms, and I also think that you don't have to be on all of them either.
I'd say, at least with our brands, it's definitely a stronger following with Instagram. Instagram sort of seems to be like that happy medium between Facebook and TikTok. You have the ability to create reels, and there's still like a good amount of following kind of spilled over from Facebook. We use all platforms. I definitely agree with you. It definitely depends on the audience that you're gearing towards. But for our own brands, Instagram is king.
You just said reel, so there might be some people here who still don't know what a reel is. Can you break down what a reel is and the different kind of posts that you can make on Instagram, and which ones you're seeing the most success with in what ways, leading to conversions like buying a ticket or listening to a song?
Yeah, so Instagram Reels are essentially Instagram's answer to a TikTok video. It's a short form video platform on that will show up on the feed. There's many different ways to kind of promote that from within the platform, whether that's resharing on story. It shows up in the grid as well, but it also you can put money behind it as well as a sponsored ad. What was the other part you asked me?
Other types of posts and the success you see, the conversions you see from them.
Yeah. I mean, overall, at least with our brands, where I promote shows, we are trying to get people for individual events. So short form video is absolutely what we're seeing the most conversion on. People are more drawn to looking at their phone and watching a small video than something catching their eye like promo pic or even a graphic at times. But if it has some sort of like live footage or any sort of like direct addressing of the audience, that is something that we've seen performs wildly better than what used to.
And in case anyone doesn't know, you don't get the swipe up feature for a link until you have over 10,000 followers. I think that's right. So most of your accounts, Neumos and all these accounts do. How can local artists, when they book a show at one of your venues or maybe festivals, work with you collaboratively to promote that show?
Yeah, I mean, it's as simple as just reaching out and letting us know that you're active and you're wanting to be a part of our feed, reaching out with like any sort of new content that you may have, or even if it's some sort of like collaborative ticket giveaway or some sort of like smaller campaign deal. We are always open to something like that. It makes it more interesting on our feed. We love to support the artists, bottom line, and it helps kind of bring people to each other's pages and let them know what's going on both sides.
And so you've booked a show at Neumos or at one of the venues. Can you give any examples of strong promo you've had booking with those venues and any good experiences you've had there?
I can probably give you a lot. Goodness. So I started my venture back with Neumos and Barboza in 2019. And to be honest, the most success that I've had in promotion with the venue has been in collaborating with the community that is building the bill. And I have only benefited from that. And that has 100% helped me build a local fan base and added to my international fan base. So I would say in the bills that I've been able to share with other artists, and they have varied, that has what has contributed to the overall promotion of the success of the show, but also the reputation that the venue and the staff carry over that is known in the community as well. And I think just being collaborative online, speaking back to the reels and the post, yes, it's great to have a collaborative post with you guys as well, but showing the initiative and having the collaborative post be with peers and other artists and even other people who are designing what it all looks like, showing everybody who's involved, because that's only going to continue to expand the reach of the audience to come out to those shows.
We got to stick together, y'all. Marisa, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think a really important piece of it is also making sure that you have an electronic press kit or just a website that has photos on it, like high quality photos. It amazes me how often, you're trying to find, often you don't hear back from the artist because they're busy and you're trying to email them and ask for their photos and you don't get it. So you go to their website and you just can't find anything. Either it's not easily downloadable or it's really low res. So absolutely making sure that you have those photos there so that whoever is designing the graphics for promoting the show can make sure that it looks great. And having different options, because sometimes when you get really creative with design, you might need a vertical, it might need to be horizontal, it just depends. But yeah, just absolutely having a website with those assets and having a bio that people can easily copy and paste, I think is so important.
Can you define for those of us who don't know what an EPK or an electronic press kit is, and maybe what some of those best practices are for what you need to have in that? For what is a marketer looking for when they go to that? What do they need? Other than, you said, the bio, the pics, what else have we got?
Yeah, I think it definitely has evolved over the years. You don't necessarily, if you go to someone's website, it doesn't necessarily need to say press kit and it goes there. That is helpful, but a lot of people, if you have a page with your photos on it that are easily downloadable, also having videos, could just be links to your YouTube videos so people can get a sense of what you look like as a performer. Also having links to any previous press coverage. I think multiple versions of your bio can be helpful, like a 300-word bio, a multiple paragraph bio, just a lot of language in your story that people can pull from can be really helpful. Am I forgetting anything else?
I guess the other thing I would think of is just overall, social media handles kind of included in that, so you can tag and maybe hashtags.
Yeah, which even that can be hard to find sometimes. What's
is.
their social media handle? And links to Spotify and just everywhere that you're streaming, I think.
And Sarah, can you give us a perspective on, so maybe you've booked a show with this artist and now your social media manager has to put together a post, hasn't heard back from their manager or whatever. What does that relationship look like? And what do you as a marketer or your employees as social media managers look for when they're building that?
It has been tough from time to time, especially when it comes to marketing for the festivals. We're usually working with a lot bigger artists who are touring and maybe have never heard of Capitol Hill Block Party before, and it's you got to hound them. You really got to get after them to get what you need. But for the most part, what we're looking for is anything that we can get, usually new content, any sort of new music that is dropping, any sort of press articles, those help to share on the feed as well, to help promote the show, in addition to any sort of shout out videos are really great. That's something that definitely focuses exactly on just that one show in particular and calls out that audience, and it's a more of a direct link, and folks are more willing to pay more attention to that when they're oh, it's for the Seattle show. And then beyond that, I would say if there's any sort of specific graphic or specific poster that someone makes for the show, that is just something that helps so much more because it's something that is within the artist's brand that we can just promote on our end. Whereas if we were to build, we have a graphic designer, but if we were to build our own graphic for it, it would be not exactly, we aren't working directly with the artist usually. It's something that we're essentially trying to display the information that needs to be displayed for people to know where the show is, when it is, how much is the ticket, just basic information like that. So if there's a more creative design outlook and approach that an artist is looking to present, then that's something we're more likely and more excited to share on our end.
Awesome. Creativity. Yeah, when you're going out looking to promote a show or release of yours, how do you approach content creation? What are all the assets that you need to gather to promote a show or release? How long does it take? How do you decide who to work with? Can you kind of walk us through your process?
Yeah, I think it varies for every show, of course. But there is one thing that I do try to make a constant when I have shows coming up. I try to make sure I have what most people would know as a call to action or something for my fans to look forward to that's just for them because it's personal, right? So I make sure that I have a record or I have some type of merch thing or just something that is more than the music, kind of going back to how we promote things. And then the social media posts, I've done the whole skit thing where it's like, hey, what's going on? It's not my favorite, but I get it. I would probably say my favorite way to promote a show is just getting out in the streets. I try to make sure that I attend other shows happening around the time to support other local artists because, what can I really ask you coming out to my show if I'm not gonna come out and support yours? Not saying that artists are my fans, but at the end of the day, we can only be as great as our community. So I try to make sure I can get out to shows and promote that way as well. And that seems to be really the thing that grabs people because, again, that personal touch. And if you can't get out, I highly recommend making a personal touch into a DM. Don't be weird. And kindly, ask and see if this person will come to support your show.
Community, togetherness, y'all. We love it. We love it. What is the ideal timeline for promoting a show? How much in advance do I need to have it booked? How much should I be posting about it? When does the poster need to drop? What are all these key steps in promoting a show?
I guess I can speak to that. It depends. Usually there's about a 2 or 3 month timeline for a lot of local shows that we do in Barboza in particularly. And I think a lot of artists have trouble figuring out the best way to prioritize which event they want to be promoting. So say they have a show booked at Barboza, but maybe a few weeks after that, there's another show at the Sunset or somewhere else. So obviously you want to be promoting all of anything that you're a part of. However, you do want to prioritize whatever is coming up first. Get it across to your audience that this is the next one. This is the one that y'all should be coming out to. That's something that I think I've seen and I've talked with other musicians about and having a little trouble trying to figure that out. But
do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah. I think, it is so tricky, especially if you have a lot of local shows, not wanting to overlap too much. What I really like as a fan, at least, is being able to see, if I go to an artist's Instagram and being able to quickly see a graphic with their upcoming shows, even if it's just 3 shows. It doesn't necessarily have to be your full national tour, but just the most, the next few shows that are happening, just quickly being able to see that. I love that. Just pin it to the top of your page. And generally at least a month out, I think is ideal. I think it also depends on the timeline of, the venue that you're performing at, but at least getting a soft launch out, making sure that your dates are available for people to see. And then you can figure out the actual push depending on, which one is coming up next.
Can I add something? What I've also seen that has worked personally for me is the carousel method, but being very thematic.
Can you explain what that is?
A carousel is a post with multiple pictures in it, correct?
you got it.
Okay. And I don't know if anyone is familiar with Chapel Roan. You should be because she's performing at this year's Capitol Block Party. So bring your costumes. But I say that because something that I love about her brand is she invites her fans to get dressed up and to kind of have this answer back on her post when she does post after a show that's for a theme and character that she's in. And maybe that's speaking to what you were saying about as a fan, seeing a post and being engaged with the graphic, not just letting it sit as come on this day and this, but finding ways to, again, make people get to know more about you and your artistry within the announcement of that show and that post. Because maybe they'll get something special at the show.
Right. Also, like, carousel posts are so good for engagement. I love carousel posts. I think you can post up to 10 images in them now on Instagram. But if someone sees it and they don't engage with it the first time, they'll see it the next day. They'll see the next photo in the slide. Gives you another chance to engage with it. I love them.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, to speak to your point, I love the idea of just featuring, kind of like letting people know as it comes along, but also like keeping it, pinning it to the top of the page and kind of like letting people know, like, here's where you can find it. There's also like an option to put it in the bio of your Instagram, kind of like each date, and you can add links here and there. Link in bio is a favorite.
How do you manage link in bio?
This is my favorite topic.
Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I think you should always have like one of those link in bio tools. I like Linktree. There's one called Link in Bio, but I think Linktree is free. There's a lot of them out there. Anyway, it's just a great way to put a collection of all of your relevant links in one place. I think Instagram lets you put up to like 3 different links on your profile now. I don't love that. I still prefer the Linktree just because you can brand it. It's just one clear landing page with all like your social links, your website link. You can have your email newsletter on there. And also, I think you can have a lot of links on there. I wouldn't do more than like 5 to 7 just because it can be overwhelming and you want it to be clear where people need to go. But yeah, they're so important to have. I think most of us know that you shouldn't be posting links in your caption. People still do it. It is what it is, but being able to direct people to that is just, it's so great. And you can also, if you don't have a website yet, which I think every artist should have one, but if you don't have one yet, your Linktree can at least be a little substitute. You can still, have a little landing page and your contact info until you have a website.
And how do you choose how to structure the information, what goes first and how it looks?
Definitely chronological for shows. I think your website should be pretty easily findable. Like, I think because you can have your social icons at the bottom. You might be able to have your website link there, but I think having your website link as a button is helpful, as like a core one, and your email list, and then above that, like whichever show in order or whatever new single or album release in order, but definitely chronological. And then like the bottom two would be like your core website or whatever.
What do y'all use for your link solution system?
Currently, I'm just using what Instagram has provided. I did have a Linktree. The reason why I have looked for other options is because within Linktree, or there's this kind of this theory about how many clicks people will actually take before buying things, and Linktree doesn't necessarily serve the interest of the artist in that way. So if I wanted to sell a merch option or maybe a record, a Bandcamp, they're not likely to get to that. So I've been kind of cycling out through the link options that are available through Instagram and letting people know what I want them to focus on that way.
Promoting one thing at a time, focusing
Yeah,
there,
or
making it as
3 different
fast
things.
as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's in tiers, right? Linktree benefited me at a certain tier in my career, so I don't think you should shy away from these tools. I think you should use them, and then when you know of better tools and you've evolved out of this tool, then you should find it. But you should definitely use the tools while they're here until you find better ones.
And what's the venue perspective on this?
We're a Linktree family, huge fans across the board. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Like the way you can, it's very easy to work with. It's very user friendly. You can like insert certain links and turn them on and off. So you can just always have it. Like if there's, you know, you want to be highlighting your merch, or you want to be highlighting, you know, your email following, stuff like that. You can leave it in, turn it on and off. You can kind of rearrange it as you need. It's quite nice.
I think also there's another. I feel conflicted about it, but and I'm sure that y'all have seen this a lot. Using a tool like MiniChat, where it's like an automated, where like you comment and then it automatically DMs. I haven't seen artists use it yet. I think they can be annoying, but it does automate things, and it like sends a link directly to them in the DMs.
Just to further explain this is kind of new up and coming software where you would write in your caption, comments, KEXP to get the link to it, and a robot, you know, would go and then DM them like, hey, I saw you commented. Here's that link. And they can be highly successful in delivering, because it's just like DMing, and sometimes people think then it's actually you, right? Sending that to them. Have you all worked with that at all yet?
We have not yet explored that. We like to address our we don't really get as many. It's more just kind of like, yes, get it. You know, people kind of supporting whatever silly memes that we're posting. But yeah, we haven't had the issue of overload yet.
Say more about the memes. I see a lot of meme. You know, how as an independent artist, how do I decide when to post that more serious, like the photo of me at the show, the video of me from the show, and the less serious, these funny memes that are maybe more spreadable and perform a little better? What should be the ratio there, and how do I decide what to post?
That's a great question. I am not an artist, but if I were one, I think like the best approach to take is just whatever feels right to you. If you are kind of a silly goofball, people will.
Do we have any silly goofballs in the house?
Silly goofballs?
A few.
Anybody?
Great.
A few back there. Don't be shy. No, I mean, people gravitate towards realness. And if that's just like, even if your music is more serious, I'd kind of love to see an artist who's like joking around or like posting silly memes or, you know, I love the feature on Instagram story where you can post polls. You know, you post an image and you're just like, which one? Or like, where you can share the DMs or the answers to questions, and then you can share stuff like that. You can get really like creative and silly with how you engage with your audience, and that's just like very compelling. And then I guess in terms of memes, we're also silly goofballs.
I see y'all memeing over there, and they're some of your best performing posts. No,
they really are. Yeah, we had one. Neumos just had their 20-year anniversary in February, and we posted like an AI version of what Neumos would look like in 20 years. And AI just created this like insane version of Neumos where it looks like, I don't even know how to explain it, like some sort of like alternate dystopian future version of Neumos. It looks like it's like super chrome heavy and it just looks very silly, but people loved it. They were like, we had a carousel and there were like a bunch of them and they were just like losing their minds. It was really fun.
I love that because I think what is so important about social is that like you're not just there selling all the time. And as an artist, obviously that looks like selling tickets to your show, selling your music. I think it's really challenging, like when it's time to, you know, actually sell a show and you haven't really been active on social, you haven't been engaging your audience and building your audience in that way up until that time. You're going to struggle a little bit more if you haven't been keeping up with your socials before you needed to promote something. And so like in between all of those promotional posts, making sure that you're just being yourself. I think your personality is so important. And even if your music is super serious, that doesn't mean that like, I think you can still be casual and relational and just, you know, share behind the scenes and like what your favorite things are. And I think it's just way more fun and way more engaging that way. There's one artist that comes to mind. They're not like a local artist, Glass Animals, who lately, like they're just so chaotic and goofy on social. And I mean, they definitely have like a manager. I don't know if they're actually posting it themselves, but it feels like Dave, the band leader, is like there just like goofing out on Instagram. And like, that's more fun than like constantly just only promoting stuff.
How do you approach your content creation? I see you doing all sorts of makeup video. I mean, you keep it really creative. How do you approach that and make it stay fun?
I do whatever I want with intention, but I do whatever I want. And I have experienced the side of where I've had a committee of wonderful creatives giving me their opinion on where to go, and that's cheesy or cringe, and that's helpful too. But at the end of the day, it's my voice, and I want my fans to meet me and not be disappointed. And I don't want to have a disingenuous interaction, even if it is online. You can be anything on the internet. I hope you be you. Even if it's not the version that you are right now, it's the ultimate version you want to be. Practice on the internet now. And you're not just a robot or one-dimensional. We're multi-dimensional beings. So you should show all the dimensions of your life that you are okay with. I'm not okay with family being a huge thing on my Instagram, but I have moments that I'm willing to share. So I think finding what that means for you works out great.
I saw your sister just won a tennis.
She won a golf.
Golf, that's right.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Northwest Championship for women's golf. Yes.
Amazing. So a lot of people here, I can imagine, have their personal Instagrams that maybe they've had since high school now, depending on how old they are. Do you guys have any tips for approaching how to use your personal Instagram versus creating maybe a new artist Instagram? Should you make a new one? Should you just use your personal one? How do you navigate that transition, and how many posts should be, just about your life or these updates about your family, and how much should be about shows, and how do you navigate that transition?
You got to make the decision first as to who you want to be, right? I decided that I want to be an artist, and Instagram actually makes you tell people if you want to be a grocery store or an artist. So take your pick. But once I decided that I am TeZATalks, I tried to really think about what does the world look like? And so I go about my social media as if people get to get little glimpses of parts of the world that they wouldn't usually get to see by listening to the music.
So you used your personal Instagram and grew it into the TeZA?
Nope, just TeZATalks. I decided that I am an artist through and through, and that is it. If I do decide to share personal things, I try to categorize it as something called Diary of Tat, which is the initials of my real name, Tajan Thomas, which is giving people a peek into the real life of me outside of being an artist.
Very smart.
Yeah,
Brand your
I
own
wanted to brand my personal approach. Yes, exactly.
Anything else to share, y'all?
I mean, I think that totally speaks to what you were speaking about earlier about kind of like showing little glimpses into your own personal life, like the behind the scenes aspect. And that's something that like audiences and fans really engage with. Beyond like enjoying their music, if they're going to follow your Instagram, they want to know like, hey, this is someone that I could be friends with, or like, hey, this is someone who's like hilarious, or something like that. Something beyond the music and putting on shows and everything, something that they can gain something extra from seeing their content.
Can I ask something?
Of course.
Is there ever, for you all in seeing artists' Instagram and social media posts, what is too much? What's in the personal realm of things? Like, do I...
Oh, you mean personal life too much?
Well, in the sense of posting, does that make a difference in the interaction that you'd want to have with artists if you go onto their social media and you see a post that is too much information?
I don't know that we've had that issue before, but like if it's something that's like maybe not for everyone and that's something that they're sharing, it's that's their choice. We can only promote at that point we're promoting the event, and if that's their choice, then that's their brand. So for Day In Day Out this year, we have Carly Rae Jepsen as one of our headliners, and I'm I'm a huge fan. But her Instagram is like, she treats it as like her whole personal account, which is so interesting because I haven't seen that really with an artist that large, but like she's always showing like pictures of like her friends' weddings and like her sister's kids and stuff like that. I'm like, okay. I mean, but like that's clearly what she decided to do with her brand. Like this is, here is my life. This is how I use this, and it still works, So.
Can you give an example of a local artist that you've worked with to market a show or a festival that is killing it, or any creative examples of marketing strategies?
I mean, I believe one of them is on the stage at this very moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Teza like slays. Your feed is fantastic. You have so much variety within your grid. I think that's such a big part of like the curation of your social media following is like even just taking a step back and looking at how the grid looks. Like, is there too much graphic close to each other? Like even just the order of way it looks, and that obviously requires a lot more organization. And
are there any tools to organize that y'all know of?
I don't know of any, but I'd love to learn more.
Yeah, there's a scheduling tool called Later where you can plan out your grid. So, I mean, you just can drop in your content and like visually decide how it looks. I think also like I do judge accounts by how their grid looks, but also it definitely matters less than it used to in the early days of Instagram where things need to be aesthetically pleasing. But I think it still helps where like to look at this balance of like, am I just sharing promo graphics over and over again? Am I sharing a balance of like good photos and videos and, stuff that's of decent quality? So I don't think you have to like over stress about the grid, but I do think it's a very good like bird's eye view of like, okay, what's the content balance here?
Were you going to say anything else? Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, TeZATalks is wonderful at Instagram.
Say it again.
Wow, that makes me feel really good.
And I want to ask you, what are all the different buckets? So you said you have this diary bucket. What are the other categories you're posting in? And what recommendations do you have for local artists trying to identify what those topics are they want to cover? When we talk about diversity of grid, what are all those main categories? One of them being the show graphics, these promo posters. What else is there?
So we're gonna do this thing where just in case I forget, I'm gonna ask you again.
Absolutely.
But right now I'm in the season of shows, so I'm trying to make sure that I am promoting the shows in the timely fashion that it needs to, but also understanding the relationships I have to make sure that they sustain well, even on a social media basis. And what I mean by that is, when you are trying to cultivate an impression, especially with venues and other people, it is important to acknowledge that collaboration in whatever venue you are about to perform in or even work with. And then I have my Diary of Tat. I have a creative series, makeup, that you saw, and this is me going through my head. Oh, okay. And then I also have what I'd like to call my way of showing what I'm interested in or people that I want to highlight. Today I posted about an artist, Gracia, who does collage art, and that was something that I wanted to just put out there because I Instagram is vain. Let's just be real. And I know that people love seeing my face over and over again, but I want to find ways to break that separation. So then it's not just always about me, even though it's a TeZATalks Instagram. And then I'm trying to think, what else do I have on there? I try to also not preach about issues that I care about, bring awareness about issues that I care about in a way to make people feel informed, but also like they can use their voice to be a part of it as well. So did that answer your question?
Beautiful, yes.
Okay.
I want to throw it to you, Marisa, too. What are some of those other categories you look for? And what recommendations do you have for musicians ideating content and coming up with these?
Yeah, I love that you have like just top of mind can think of all of the little themes that you have. Because usually, like, I'm normally working with like organizations, and so content pillars are a big part of that when you're developing a content strategy. Which she just named a bunch of them for herself. But like, it's so helpful to just, even if you just, I mean, you don't have to, but like jot it down in a document on a piece of paper, write down your content pillars of like, okay, these are the 5 things that I like to talk about. And you can have like a little bullet list of some ideas underneath them. But then that way, when you're like, okay, I have no idea what to post today, you can just look at that list and say, okay, yeah, that's great. That'll help to, get your creative juices flowing. You can also decide, how much of your content, maybe it's 50% is promoting your shows, your music, and maybe 25% of that is like your behind the scenes stuff, and 25% of that is whatever else. I think it's really helpful to create a balance of content, and it helps you to be a little bit more strategic.
And how do y'all at Daydream go about scheduling your posts?
Yeah, I mean, it's a similar thing when it comes to basic show promotion, we have like a set list of however many posts about the show to kind of help promote it across all platforms. But in addition to that, I mean, we are a little more picky about how we're curating the Instagram feed. Obviously, we don't want to like overly favor an artist or a show over some others. There's like within the feed, like you want to make sure that you're also kind of promoting the brand in addition to whatever upcoming events are happening. So with that, it's a matter of just kind of like taking a step back and looking and be like, okay, so what have we done in the past 2 weeks? How is this looking? What needs, what shows need maybe more help? Or how's engagement right now? Like, are people, are our posts engaging well with our audience, or do we need to post another silly meme to get people talking? But yeah, I just wanted to say, based on what you were talking about, one of the great things I love, like another bucket that you can use is like any sort of like collaborative or like shining a light on other artists. Like you've mentioned this before, like working with the community. I think that's something that, especially with local Seattle musicians, like if you're shining the light, you're sharing your feed with another artist, and it's also like, it opens the door for more collaboration, I'm sure, like musically, but booking shows together as well.
So we've done a lot of talking about social media. I wanna ask you guys, what about email marketing? Should I be gathering emails? How do I do that? And once I have them, what do I do with them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I will die on this hill forever. Yeah, I mean, okay, so the algorithm we know is totally fickle. It changes all the time. You never know if your posts are actually going to get seen. We also don't know if a social media platform is just going to be shut down one day or get bought out by some crazy rich dude. Like, we have no idea what's going to happen. Your email list is yours and you own it. And it's such an invaluable way to connect with your fans. And also it tends to have like just generally, I mean, across a lot of industries, but generally has a higher return on investment than most other marketing channels. So like if you're actually wanting to convert, if you're wanting people to buy tickets to something or buy music, your emails are going to be a really great way to do that. And as far as collecting goes, like definitely collect them at shows, like 100%. I think if you can do it on an iPad, that's cool. Like that actually connects to your email marketing software. But if you just have to get it on paper, that's great too. Make sure you have a sign up form on your website. Make sure that's linked on all your social channels. Just promote the heck out of it.
Yes. Yes. Email list is important. I've been collecting through various ways. What I really love is artists pre-save links. You now can make your I think it's been a thing, but anyways, you can make your pre-save link to where when someone goes and pre-saves, they also put in their email list. And then depending on what site that you're using to create the hyperlink,
what do you use for that? Hyperfollow or something else?
Hyperfollow. hyperfollow, I believe, if anyone wants to peek on my Instagram. Yes, I believe it's hyperfollow. And then they also have data that they're collecting too, who, where, which is great for later on when you need that. And then what else? QR code. I saw one where it was on a poster once and it popped up and you could just type in there.
What do you use to host your email list?
As far as like, what do I...
Maybe that's a better question for Sarah.
Yeah,
what do
'cause
you
I was
all
like,
use to distribute your emails?
We work with the company called Hive. We've worked with MailChimp in the past. We work with Hive now because it's integrated into our ticketing platforms. So pretty much anybody who signs up for the mailer already gets in, and anybody who buys a ticket, it funnels into our feed. And we use it a lot also as a way to send information about specific shows for ticket buyers. So that's like great on our end. Hive is a great service. It is kind of expensive though. That's a thing. Like we're able to use it because it's integrated with our ticketing system, and they kind of take care of that. However, there's like endless possibilities beyond just sending like a weekly mailer or every now and again. We have automations kind of set up in there as well, where say, you go to buy a ticket, but you leave it in the cart and you're like, maybe later, and then you leave. It'll pop up back up and be like, hey, we see you.
And what percentage of your ticket sales happen through social versus email versus an ad? Do you have any rough sense of that?
I mean, honestly, no. But I will say the higher percentage is definitely through our email list, and our dark ads that we run through Facebook and Instagram.
What is a dark ad?
Ooh, spooky. So a dark ad is something that you can run. It's an ad that you can run through someone else's account or as someone else's account. So it requires Facebook ad access to the specific artist. And then with that, I can go in and create an ad promoting a show as that artist with their, approved ad copy. But, anytime you're scrolling through Instagram and you see TeZATalks is saying come to my Neumos show and it says sponsored up there, that's what a dark ad is.
Do you run those with local artists as well if they reach out?
I'm sorry?
Would you run those with local artists playing a show at Barboza?
Oh,
for example?
absolutely. Yeah.
Has anyone here ever run a dark ad before? We got one. Okay, amazing. And I don't know if y'all know this, but you can sneak on all the ads anyone is running through Meta. You can, if you Google this, you'll figure it out right away. But if you're wondering, what is TeZATalks? What ads are they running? Or what is Neumos running even as a business? Not necessarily the dark ads, but they would show up here too. You can go see what all of your competitors are doing. Isn't that spooky?
Yeah.
Exposed.
We know that.
Well, great. Okay, well, we just have a few minutes left, so I want to open this up to some questions. Okay, yes, right away, right here, our dark ad lord.
So after you've run a campaign, being able to collect analytics to find out your success, kind of a loaded question. I'm the guy who asks a lot of leading questions. And how important are those analytics, and do you recommend capturing them with things like redirect pages, like to send a link having your link go to a redirect page so that you can capture how successful your ad campaign was or your promotion campaign before getting people to that ticket website or whatever you're doing. So how often do you use analytics? And then my second question is, Teza, we recorded you at Neptune.
Yes, and I loved it.
Yeah. What kinds of videos do you find are the most effective for different things?
What kind of videos do I find that are effective for different things as far as...
Like live videos versus candid videos versus...
I guess I can speak on the analytics part. Yeah, I mean, it definitely is something that you want to keep an eye on, especially if it's a category of posts that you would be doing quite frequently or consistently. If it's something you posting about keeps like upcoming shows, like a list of upcoming shows that are happening. If you have a specific way that you're going about it and maybe it's not performing as well, you can kind of go back and be like, okay, you know, you can relook and maybe readjust the way that your campaign is running. Yeah, I mean, it's just good overall to see what people are clicking and what it is. And then with that, you can kind of adjust the way that your grid or the feed looks and see how frequently you want to be approaching that.
Yeah, I'm a big Google Analytics nerd, so and I know that's like it's honestly probably a little bit advanced for what you really need to be doing, but I think you should be looking at your analytics always, all the time. They're always relevant, especially if you're putting money behind anything. If you're running ads, obviously those analytics are going to be essential to know if they're performing at all, but definitely, you know, looking at your Instagram analytics and seeing like how many saves your content is getting, how many shares. Comments and likes are cool, but I think saves and shares are really, really important metrics. And then on your site, like I know Squarespace has built-in analytics, but if you could install Google Analytics, I think you get a little bit more detail. There's more advanced tracking stuff that you could definitely do, but I think you would just like the baseline data that you can get from the social media platforms. It's going to tell you so much information.
Yes. Keep your analytics, collect your analytics, not only because it's good to know where you're at and where you're going, it will get you business ventures. Every person that has approached me in investment or even in trying to understand the trajectory of my music or catalog specific single needs those analytics. And just last year, DistroKid, they removed a certain amount of analytics up to a certain year point. So you will only be able to, I believe, get to maybe 2019, maybe, if that does matter to you. But the sooner you collect, the better it is for you. And as far as your question about the wonderful production that you did at Neptune, I use short form content. I die on that hill. Short form content. So what I'm doing now is I'm gathering wonderful footage that people have provided me, such as yourself, and I am trying to make them into a format of reels, or even just to have on the website, or even to share within an EPK, or what I like to call a short bio presentation for people that are just getting to know me or want to book me outside of Washington. So that's how I use that content, if that helps. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Or do we already have someone with the mic? Right here, yeah.
I have a question for Kate and Teza, if that's okay. It's deviating from the topic that has been going on here. How do you find the balance between being a performing artist and preparing for the actual shows versus getting into that mindset of, I have to promote it? Like, do you create boundaries for yourself? So you're like, I only have so much bandwidth left tonight and I need to stop this and direct the rest of my attention to actually just being an artist and preparing for my set.
How do we balance making and promoting art?
Man, at the end of the day, you're a human. We're all human. I know there's this crazy pressure socially and even business-wise for us to meet all of these expectations that we have for ourselves and what other people have for us. But at the end of the day, the art is the most important. And what I like to do is I will promote up to a point, and the show day belongs to me. Rehearsals belong to me, and any time that I have where someone else is putting their time and energy to work with me on that show, my attention goes to that. You don't have to be anything other than you. So if you find it that these pressures are starting to affect your art and your performance, it's not worth it. Just let it go. Because at the end of the day, what matters is the connection you have on stage with you and the audience and the music. So I hope that helps you create some strong boundaries to not feel like you have to push that out anymore.
Pay attention to how you feel and set boundaries around it. It's different for everyone. Absolutely. Anyone? Yes, right over here. Thank you.
Oh, wait, Kate. I think she had that question for...
Did anyone else want to?
She asked you too.
Oh yeah. My answer is completely separate than T's answer. Mine is that the closer you get those two things together, the easier it becomes. If your art making can become the content creation. So if your promo post is just you practicing a song and you can just put up a camera and forget about it, then the work isn't work anymore. The work is part of the play. So we have separate answers to this in some ways, but you just got to find where your own personal boundaries are and draw them and pay attention to how you feel within your creative process and find them, because they will be different for every single artist.
And I love that.
Yeah.
So that you're absolutely. I need to learn how to play more. So.
Thank you. Right over here. Yes.
You kind of touched on it. I was wondering, outside of like the collaborative posts, when you're trying to reach people outside of your market, maybe you're playing a show in Bellingham or Portland, do you find that putting ads or paying for ads on like Facebook or Instagram, are they effective in like kind of getting outside of your normal circle or group or your reach? Are they worthwhile?
So putting ads into shows that I'm doing in other areas in Washington or in other areas in general?
Outside of your market in general, and like maybe boosting a post.
Demographic specific show promo paid.
Got you. So I'm going to be completely transparent with you. I have never put ad spend into a show post, but I have put financial or put money into street teams, and I've also put them into postering as well. I'm not to say that that doesn't work as well. I just don't have I'm not going to tell you something I haven't done. Yeah.
Got anything, Sarah?
I mean, we've only ever marketed within the Seattle area. So, I mean, we're exploring different options, like in terms of targeting different areas with the festivals, kind of like targeting, different markets and trying to highlight, like, here's why you should come out here. Here's why you should come this way. So I think probably the best approach for that would be to kind of like find a way to kind of target that specific audience and give them a reason why they should, make their way out there. Or I guess in that case, if you're a Seattle-based artist and you're trying to get people to go to your Bellingham show, that can be, if you add some sort of like additional add-on where it's like a ticket giveaway, or if it's like some sort of merch drop that kind of is married along with that additional show that's pretty further out, that gives people an added incentive to want to like engage and click on that.
I think also running ads is obviously going to be super helpful for geo-targeting. You can also, like, once you get a little bit more advanced, you can retarget your website visitors. You could retarget people who follow your Instagram page or follow your Facebook page. You can also target people who look like those audiences, which I think is really helpful for reaching new audiences. Facebook just looks at, common factors and it's like, oh yeah, these people look like people who already like you, which can be really helpful. I think you're probably gonna get the most bang for your buck if you're not using the boost button. The problem with that is, Facebook just wants your money and they want you to be able to do it quickly. If you don't have time, it's fine, do what you can. But if you actually go through the ads manager, not just boosting it on like when you're just scrolling down your Facebook page, you can get a little bit more targeted. You can edit the placements. You just have a lot more options. And it can be overwhelming, so I understand a lot of people don't want to deal with it. But like if you're really going to be spending a lot of money on it, it's worth putting in the little bit of extra effort, I think.
Can I clarify something? What was your name? Shreem? So are you speaking as if you're doing a show for yourself in Bellingham? Is that just like an example? Okay. I do want to just give you a little nugget, even though I may have not done that yet. One thing that I will say in promoting in Bellingham or just new cities in general, and you're doing a show, including the local artists that are there is always really helpful in expanding your network and also reaching out to the local radio stations. If it's a college town, they're usually game because they love music and they just want to be a part of it, and maybe they might find a cool way to collab with you on some ad spend if it's far enough in advance. So those are some things that I have done that have worked.
Great tips. We're right about at our time, but I know we started a bit late, so I want to leave us open for one more question. If you have a burning question that applies to so many people, raise your hand. None. We answered everything. Oh, sorry. Ben, please.
You talked about everything you could do. If there was just one thing, or if you had a small dollar amount, what would be the most effective thing, do you think?
Well, I can answer that. So one thing that I would effectively do, using, let's just say $1,000 right now, for short form content strategy in making sure I get those minute shots or recaps. I invest in the videographer that I am working with. And then there's also the opportunity, say that if it's a record that you really want to get out there, which I'm getting ready to do, you need to do your research, but there are PR companies that will help promote the release of the project in different targeted demographics and regions. And if you know who that audience is and you know what that target is, I would recommend spending the $1,000 for the 2 to 3 month ad campaign that could absolutely change the trajectory and success of that record.
Is that press, like your PR
So it's
support?
working. So there's a company, for example, called Songular. I'm not working with them, but it's a company that you can use to advance the reach of your music. And they offer different services through TV, film, radio. There's several ways to get your music out there. And so what I have been trying to have strategy about is understanding the biggest audience I can reach, but also very specific. And right now, I'm just going to use the example of gaming. I know that my music will do well in gaming. So they have a service that targets specifically the gaming world. And when you have specific targets that you know a company can really reach and make your dollar go forth, like it's worth it. So I would say that.
Find your niche, spend the money there. Anything from y'all?
I mean, I totally agree. You kind of stole my answer. Essentially, like putting the money into creating some really good video content that you can use moving forward for however long to kind of like really push your music.
Not
yeah.
a music video, though, right?
No. I guess not specifically a music video. I think more like promotional short form video that kind of like shows who you are and what your music is and like what you do and how you put it out there. I think kind of gives a little snapshot into like your life as a musician and what your mission statement is perhaps. And then you can use that, you can use that to push it further and like further capture other audiences.
Marisa?
I think just like taking it back to the basics, I think these are also really great ideas. I think like if you had $1,000 to get started or whatever, like making sure that you have a website and getting some professional photos taken. And I know that like we're in this video world and those photos aren't necessarily like what you're going to be using every day on social, but like getting that brand established and making a really professional presence is just like really essential to the foundation so that you have something to build off of, so that when you're starting to get press coverage, and a journalist is like looking at you online, they see that like you've invested time into your business. It's a business. So like that foundational stuff I think is super important.
Amazing. And my recommendation is to get coffee with someone who works in marketing. folks like us are so happy to talk to you, and it's a moving target. The algorithm and these trends are constantly changing. So you know, just when you feel like you know it, it's gonna shift. So find a marketer, somebody who already loves your music, who's maybe a friend of yours, and meet with them, and they can tell you, kind of steer you how to spend that money and what the current best practices are. Any of us would be happy to chat with you. Great segue. We're gonna hang out for a little bit here. Come and talk to us if you have any more questions. We'd love to chat. Meet the other musicians in the room. Again, this is Sonic Guild. This is what we do. We support local artists, and we talk about how to build stronger careers in music, as well as we host monthly shows for our members who are basically donors that fund it and make things like this possible alongside the WSMA. So thank you so much for coming today. Give it up for amazing panelists, Sarah, Marisa, TeZATalks, my word, amazing humans.